Welcome to this week's installment of Reading with Robin, your number one destination since 2002 for insightful author interviews and discussions on everything literary. And with no further introduction, your host, Robin Call.
Aliza Kelly is a New York City-based astrologer and writer. Aliza is the author of 2 books, The Mixology of Astrology and Starring You. Aliza's horoscopes and columns appear in Cosmopolitan, and her work has been featured in Allure, Vogue, Paper, Bustle, Refinery 29, HuffPost, and Girl Boss. In her private practice, Aliza hosts monthly workshops and provides chart reading for her clientele. Welcome to the podcast, Aliza.
So before we get into this amazing book that I have just been I've been carrying it around with me since it came because it's just so amazing.
Much.
Oh, thank you. I was I really feel like this is kind of this is what I personally needed. So I'm really excited to share it with, friends and listeners and everyone. But you mentioned, I think it was your introduction, that you have been interested in astrology since you were 10 years old. So I was wondering if you could start us off by just talking a little bit about your journey with astrology, both personally and then how that kind of morphed into your profession, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, yeah. So, it's interesting because my journey with astrology actually started before I was even consciously aware of it. My uncle was an incredible astrologer, and he hand-calculated my birth chart for me when I was born, which he then sent to my mother. So I have this beautiful illuminated handmade natal chart, which is really special and very, very skilled thing to do. Most people now just plug in the information online, but he used a protractor and he used rulers and all of this good stuff. So he sent this to my mother. He made some sort of interpretations of what my chart was doing, and then unfortunately he passed away when I was 3, and I didn't know that this chart existed. I didn't know that there was this sort of roadmap that he had already interpreted and calculated for me. So I continue to live my life, and this chart is in our family archives, just doing what it's, sitting there unfolding quietly. And in my early 20s, it's kind of just arbitrary. I found myself, I've always saw myself as very entrepreneurial. I had already ran a couple of small businesses, and at 23, I was feeling very disillusioned by my career and my dating life, and I, with a friend from college, was like, why doesn't an astrology dating app exist? And with that question came the next 2 years of my life, which was building an astrology dating app called Align, and becoming increasingly immersed in astrology and studying it and learning and being just passionately consumed. That's when I started to sort of take my curiosities and formalize them even more. And then, lo and behold, I was living in Los Angeles, and I came back to New York, and my mom was like, oh, did you know that Jeremy had made a chart for you when you were born? No, I had no idea. And at that point, I knew enough information to see it and to say, well, this all checks out, with timing, with what my mom recalled of his interpretations. And it really is, is it a chicken or egg thing? But I clearly had this, astrology impacts me on a cellular level. It's so part of my psyche and who I am, that as soon as I started to take my interest from just, going to Barnes & Noble and reading about whether I was compatible with a Libra or not, to something more formal, it clicked so quickly. And it's been the only thing in my life that I have liked to do consistently. It's the only thing that I don't get bored doing. And it's the only thing that I've also been able to make a business out of. So it's clearly just embedded within who I am.
that is, like, I'm kind of blown away because that's not where I was expecting the story to go. And that's really amazing. So astrology, what is it? How do people kind of utilize it in their daily life?
Sure. So astrology is the symbolic interpretation of the planets and celestial bodies and stars. And we use those to create narratives for our own lives, to sort of map out our past, present, and future, and to help get a deeper insight into who we are.
Let's talk about the book, because I just want to make sure that I don't get too off tangent. So this book it really is incredible. And I know that you have the mixology of astrology too, and so you're kind of doing these very creative things with astrology and kind of, I feel like, making them fun and accessible, but in a really, very smart, thought out way, but there's an interactive quality to them. So you just take us through kind of your process through what was important to you to put together in this guide, and your hope for it, its purpose. I mean, there's really everything in here. Like I said, I've been carrying it around with me since I got it.
Well, I wanted to, I guess first and foremost, I really wanted to make a book for younger readers to be able to work with and to understand how complex we are as people. I was a very unhappy teenager. I was very, I felt I was really angsty, and I felt really unheard, and I felt very unvalidated. And it took me a really long time to realize that it was okay for me to be as emotional as I was, and that I didn't need to shy away from my intuition, and I didn't need to be perfect all the time. And then when I wasn't perfect, I didn't need to self-destruct, right? It was like, it's a hard balance to manage all of these things when we are moving through important life transitions. So I was really thinking about how astrology has changed my life in such beautiful and radical ways through self-acceptance. And I wanted to create a book that was going to empower readers to have that experience for themselves. The name Starring You is really, reflected in that image of wanting a book to put the reader first and foremost, to empower them, to inspire, and most importantly, to validate and say, you are okay to be who you are. You are going to be complex. The way that you externalize is not necessarily going to be the way you internalize, and that is more than fine. That's amazing. And then all of the, that was the cornerstone of what I wanted to create the book surrounding, and then all of the other pieces really fell into place because I also wanted to create a book that was going to be, that wasn't didactic, that didn't pander to the reader, and that provided as much information as I could while elevating them and believing like any reader will be able to understand what eclipses are. Any reader is going to be able to work with the moon phases. This isn't something exclusive. This is something that everybody should be invited and excited to participate in. So that was really the thinking and the processing behind coming up with Starring You.
If you enjoyed this clip, you'll love the entire interview. Just visit robincall.com and subscribe to RWR Salon, where you'll be able to listen to all full-length Reading with Robin podcasts. With your new subscription, you'll become a member of our Facebook page, where we give away tremendous books twice a week and post exclusive content. You'll also get an awesome book surprise for your birthday, and first dibs and discounts to your favorite Reading with Robin events. So, go to robincall.com and subscribe today to RWR Salon for the low introductory rate. We look forward to seeing you there.